You are listening to the Witness Where You Are podcast with Robert Ertler and
Ellie Basarab.
How do we truly reach heaven? Does God still give prophecies today? Are we in the end times now? May we all surrender to the Lord, letting the Holy Spirit guide us during today's deep discussion. Welcome, everybody, to the Witness Where You Are podcast. I'm Rob.
And I'm Ellie.
And we are on episode 9.
Episode 9.
So we just got done with episode 8 last week, and so this is a longer chapter. This is chapter 12, the two-path prophecies. And so on the front of the book cover, the subtitle is Urgent Prophecies Uncode Two Paths to Heaven. And so all of the revelations, dreams, visions, voice of the Lord that are in this chapter are really where the teachings come from. And so we've talked again about the two paths being, one way through the book of remembrance, one way being through the book of life, and so forth. And then it has to do with how sanctified you are. You have to become wholly sanctified. So I guess with that, we're just going to continue on, and we should wrap this chapter up this episode. So yeah, what do you have for us today, Ellie?
Well, just reviewing chapter 12. It almost seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2019, 2020, 2021, you've been seeing different visions and dreams. And to me, it almost feels like God was preparing you for something, preparing to reveal something about the future. Because your very first prophetic vision that you had, correct me if I'm wrong again, was in February of 2022. So speak to that a little bit. February 16th, 2022, you woke up early in the morning. You had a dream that had 3 parts to it.
This one here was very specifically something that we did witness coming true. I immediately was brought to the attention of words being known of, as if somebody had just said them and then I had the knowledge of them, but I didn't hear the vocalization of it.
I'm moving to the west now, moving to the west. Is
yes.
That the one that
so
you're
yeah,
about?
It was creepy. It got my attention, and I was uncomfortable hearing it, but it had my attention, and it said, I'm moving to the west now, I'm moving to the west now, you are dead. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty heavy. And so then I saw, like 4 different faces in 5 appearances of them. So Jesus appeared twice is what I'm saying. So I saw Jesus's face, and then I saw my face, and then I saw Jesus with this line under his eye. That could be taken as like a tear or a scar or something. He was affected by something is what that means. And then I saw Putin's face, Vladimir Putin of Russia, and then I saw a face that I had never seen before, and it held there for a little while for me to really just look at the face. And so kind of rounded eyes, not like slivery eyeball sockets, if that makes any sense. It was more of a rounded look in the eyes, but like a good looking male. And so that was kind of something that was specific to it. Smooth skin on his face, on his cheeks anyway. And then just that he had some kind of a soul patch underneath his bottom lip that stood out. So I didn't really recognize like if he had any scruff underneath of his chin or what his hair was doing. It was really just this, like, from the eyebrows to just above the chin. It was really just this focus, and then the rest was really just kind of not in focus. And so right after he had appeared, then knowledge of the Antichrist was given. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that last face was the Antichrist, or after these 2 faces in Putin and this other face do their thing, then the Antichrist will appear, or if the Antichrist is working through both of them. That was not given. So I just am very straightforward with what he showed in the dream. So I'm not leaning on my own mind for any understandings other than what he showed me. Well, anyway, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I actually really like how when you would have a vision or a dream, you would just report it to exactly how it was seen and not try to put your interpretation or emotion into it. Because these are factual things that you have seen and you don't want to skew them in any way. And I really appreciate that, because I could see how you're denying yourself throughout this entire process, where God is giving you this prophetic vision, prophetic dream, and you're like, this is what it is. I'm not going to jump to conclusions. These are the facts.
Yeah,
and
no, because if I do, then that does not glorify God. If something that I am sharing of God's and then it didn't happen, then that makes me look like I am not sharing what God has really showed me, that I'm a false prophet, right? So I have to strip myself out of it to only show what God has shown. And then that's what I can stand on to say that, hey, now we need to watch for what he has shown. There's, the moment that I'm plugging in, it won't happen. That's not from God. So, but the thing is, it did come true 7 days later. I don't want to jump forward too much on it.
Yeah, well, you also had a vision of George Washington's face over a building with a tall peak. Yeah.
So this building, it basically looked like the Capitol building, but with a pointier peak to it than what the Capitol is shown as. But it's very similar to that. It's almost like synonymous to like some of the church buildings that you'll see too. So I feel that I can say that just because it's just a shape that I saw. I didn't know that it was the Capitol building, or I didn't know that it was a church building, but it's like the Capitol building for a reference. But it is in context with George Washington. And so George Washington, from my viewpoint of looking at him, was looking to my right, to his left. And so in this dream and other dreams, I've come to realize that right and left are synonymous with east and west. And so when Washington is looking to his left, he's looking to the east, and then, and then Putin, he says he's moving to the west, to the left on the map. And so that's what's happened. And Ukraine is the first place to the west of Russia. And here we are, America, watching what's happened. So this prophecy is still being fulfilled even today. But I had the vision on the 16th, and then on the night of the 23rd, I was doing a session, and then I had texted you, and I think it was around 7:30, 7:35, if I'm not mistaken. And when I concluded for that night, the Holy Spirit was in me responding to, hey, God, is this good? And he's like, yes, it's right, but also there was something happening. And I felt that he was saddened in some way. So, and I had told you that. And so I wake up the next day, and then I see the news cycle that, now this is the 24th our time, the 25th Ukraine time. So we have to remember, like, the 23rd here was the 24th there. So if you were to look back on news stations, you'll see that the Ukraine invasion happened on the 24th. Well, that's their time. But our time, it was the 23rd.
Which was exactly 7 days after the prophecy.
It was 7 days after the prophecy. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. I'm not plugged into any of that stuff. I'm not in the military. I don't have connections with Russians or Ukrainians to know, or, anybody in the U.S. Congress. I don't have any of that connection. I'm just a regular Joe. And so I'm just doing my day. But the next day, it's all over the news, of course. They were invaded last night. Well, I had done some research to see, like, what time exactly. Because I was like, oh, there's the time difference. What's the time difference? I think it's something like, 12 hours or something.
Something like that.
But apparently it was about 9 o'clock our time on the 23rd that this happened. So Jesus knew what was about to happen, the plans that were being made in their minds because it takes time to get the troops ready, gas up the rigs, get everything ready, and then you go. So I could only imagine that they were in swift readiness mode, getting ready. It's 7:30 when I'm praying and God's not feeling right. So then when you go to what I saw Jesus, and then I saw me, and then I saw Jesus with the affected line under his eye. Well, Jesus is like, okay, 16th Jesus, and then I'm going to be working, and then he's going to feel sad or something. He's affected.
This is information that is given to you so that you can give to the rest of the world to share, so that they are aware what to watch for, and then they can make that choice, that decision to prepare their heart and mind. Yeah.
And this one I texted you at 6:36 a.m. And so the screenshot is in the book, the actual text. And so that was on the 16th. So we have record, T-Mobile has record of all of this stuff. And so they know the timing of all of this. So, of course, I've kept every email, all the files are on our computers. All of this stuff could be subpoenaed by a court of law, and everybody would find that this is the truth. But it's something that people need to know that, okay, here's the timestamp time, and then it really happened. And so it validates, it's kind of like the resurrection. It validates the faith for the people going forward. This is like a validation, one validation of several that have happened that say, okay, this is somebody who's saying that God is revealing these things. This was brought to a high level of detail exactly 7 days before. 7 is the number of perfection, and now it actually completed 7 days after this person is saying that God revealed these things. So people, I would pray that they would start listening to the rest of these podcasts to know what's coming, so it's important.
So on March 19th, 2022, you were already awake. You were in bed, your eyes were closed. You were trying to get back to sleep a little bit longer, and then a vision came. And this vision was pretty long. It had not 1 or 2, but 7 parts to it. Do you think that might have been like the longest one that you've ever had?
I think 7 parts is the most, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe let's just talk about each part. Do you want to do that, or just summarize it?
Yeah, you're going to have to remind me of the
part
day.
1, I saw what I knew was to be an evil man. And then part 2, a beautiful but an evil woman's full face came into view.
Yep. So I kept seeing people. And again, it's of a certain art style, black and white, to show the dynamics of it. It's very dramatic looking, but they're real people, though. It's just the way that it came through. And so there was definitely a lady, and it zoomed in on her left eye, and she's smirking, and her plans are about to be carried out. But there's some lady that's involved in everything, and then I couldn't tell if the different men that I was seeing was the same man in just different situations, or if it was multiple men. But at the end of it, this is the one where the king gets crowned and he's sitting at a throne.
Yeah. So part 3 was when you saw men that you didn't recognize. They seemed like they were leaders. And then part 4, Jesus Christ appeared in a separate but a new scene.
Yeah. He's unhappy. He knows everything that's going on. So it's just like Jesus is, is seeing all of this.
And then part 5, a male figure was crowned like a king.
Yep. And so in the vision of this, I had seen what he's wearing, and I had seen the chair and drapes and different things before him. He's in a royal area,
throne or something.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, that's like medieval looking, the clothes style and things. It was just very like old medieval style. And I was like, surely that wouldn't, in my own mind, I'm thinking that's not going to really be like that. It might be something different in the 21st century style of clothing. But so, I draw the sketch, I send it to Guy, and he's, of course, he has his email history of when I'm sending this stuff over, and he's completed the drawing. He's drawing the sash and the different features of the chair and everything that's happening. He's drawing that as well. And of course, he's a prayerful Christian, and he felt led and inspired to do the work for this. And I'm like, Guy, I didn't tell you some of those things, and those are in the drawing that you've done. Mm-hmm. Well, we park that, or, we go on to the next, book writing session. We just go on with our lives, right?
Right. But interestingly enough, so fast forward about 6 months later, September 8th of 2022. So you had that vision on March 19th of 22.
Okay.
So September 8th of 2022, after Queen Elizabeth II has died,
mm-hmm.
King Charles III of England took the throne.
Yeah.
And when you saw the news,
mm-hmm.
did your mind immediately go back to that vision that you had?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so, when I log into work, I see the news feed just come up, and I never really click into them. I think I've clicked into maybe 2 ever, but so I see these headlines, right? And I don't watch the news. I don't watch Fox, CNN. I don't watch that. I don't even watch YouTubers of the news. Even now, I used to years ago, but it's been years since I've watched the news. And up until the election of Trump and Biden, I said I'm done with it. So since then, I've been unplugged. And so I think that was 2019. So the last 4 years, I have not been in the news, other than when these things started happening in the news. And now I'm watching the headlines. So now I'm very active to the headlines. I take pictures with my phone that show my computer's date and time. I'll send them to you. So it's really interesting the way the world's working. But I started seeing that, okay, she's died now. I was like, wow, well, but I just see that a king was crowned. That's all. So he's going through the ceremonies and stuff, and he's not crowned. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but it's happening, So I just like, oh, well, it's still happening. There's going to be a new king. And so then fast forward a couple months to, I think, a couple months ago from now, then he was crowned. And then I started searching for images of that inauguration, or whatever that's called. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the photo.
It matched.
That was the photo
to what the vision was.
That Guy drew. It matched the same sash, the same chair style. You just seriously cannot make that up.
Wow.
You just can't make that up. It's been years since a new king was crowned, and it was a queen, Elizabeth II. Decades and decades ago. Who knows what they would have done today? They don't announce that stuff, what he's going to wear. They don't say, and he's going to sit on the, that is impossible information to know. It's impossible. It's not known information. So that was really something, that was another one that's come true after the fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. So then part 6, Jesus appeared with his head completely glowing white. There was no head feature seen, not even faintly, you write.
Yeah.
But his head was an orb of intense white light.
Yeah, it was. So his head and his hands are kind of out in front of him, almost like a 90-degree angle, as if he's carrying something. But he's not carrying anything, but his hands are in that position. And his hands, it's almost like he has a fist. It's just like a round orb of light, just as Guy had drawn it. Mm-hmm. But then the face is just, you couldn't see that's his nose. And, there wasn't anything like that. It was just in the shape of a round, head, or the shape of a head. But then these beams, big, fat, and skinny, and short and long, they're all just going out different directions. Just boom, his power is just going out. Or glory, it was his glory and power just being emitted and shown.
How did you feel when you saw that?
Oh man, it's
was it peaceful?
It was It wasn't like peaceful. I was just in awe, and I was just awestruck. I was just like, wow, that is powerful. That's what I was like Jesus means to business, the real deal. He means business when he's coming back. Like, you don't want to be on that side when he comes back with the power that he has. This is the Almighty God we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. So he's going to come back with authority. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Part 7 of your dream, the last part. The scene changed from viewing people to viewing a battlefield from the air.
Yeah. So this was viewed from right to left. And I have to make a little pause here. Mm-hmm. This is my thing that came later. Now, this could have been God putting this on me, but I will just say that the people who read from right to left are like the Israelis. And so it was just something that came to me later. So in thinking of this, the right to left view, because these views have mattered, the right and the lefts.
The direction from where they were coming, or the direction the people were looking at.
Yeah, so I don't know that it was Israel. So now I'm unpausing. I'm going right back into what was shown. Mm-hmm. So now God had shown this panning, and so I'm looking from right to left. And if I could, I don't know, if I had a piece of paper in front of me, I would be able to draw like the size of the houses, but you can see my fingers on the table, but like a house would be like this big. And so I saw a section of land that was about like this to here.
So the houses
it was about
would be
this shape. It was almost like a 16 by 9 aspect ratio almost, or a little wider and longer, but something like a 16 by 9.
Like an airplane view.
Yes, like an airplane. Yeah, something like instead of 30,000, maybe like 20,000 feet. Okay, something like that, to where it started with the right and then it just moved about this fast to the left. And so, and then it was over. So, whatever seconds, 3 or 4 seconds is the panning of this area. And so it was more of like the city size than a state size, for example. And then bombs are landing there. The dream, it shows a king crowned and people are involved. There's this network of at least a couple people here in this one dream, and then we see Jesus knowing what's happening, and then Jesus is coming back and there's war and everything. And so this is definitely in the end times scope of time frame.
Wow. So there was a lot of bombs, plumes, and mushroom clouds.
Yeah, all different sizes. And so there was a number of smaller ones, and then they went to the medium ones, and then there was a couple of the very big ones. And the big ones were like, after they hit, the clouds were the biggest, but they were like swirly and like actively like charged and like energized, So now this is me now again. I'm thinking, is this a nuclear bomb? Something that has radiation. That's me. But, I'm back to what he showed me again now. They were swirling and charged. So after the bomb dropped and the plume was happening, it was still powerful in some way.
Wow. So then just 3 days later, March 22nd of 22, you're waking up.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this, I don't believe, has happened yet. So this is something that we would then need to be watchful for.
Gotcha. So then 3 days later, you had a vision that had 4 parts to it. So the first part, you saw a face of a white lion. Mm-hmm. What was your emotion, and what were you feeling when you saw that, and what was that lion doing? So
there's 2 illustrations that I just love personally, and that guy did, and it was the one of Jesus with the face and the glowing orb of his face in his hands. That one is just, I love it. But then this one is the other one that I love just as much, and it's Jesus, and he came back as this lion that was just the most powerful specimen of a warrior lion that you could possibly imagine. and he had on his head, and so he had white fur, and on his head was a plaque or a shield in between his ears, on his forehead, above his eyes, and it went back onto his head, and not like a helmet, but more like just a plate.
And that was royal blue.
Yeah, I had seen it as like a royal blue color. And so there's not many colors in these dreams that I have. And so when I see color, it really impacts me. But on it was just basically a cross. And underneath the cross, I couldn't tell if it was just if it was the white fur coming through, like it was a cutout of a cross, or if it was just like a painted on color, but it was white as well.
Mm-hmm. So then you immediately knew that was Jesus Christ, or that was King Jesus.
Yes, I knew that was Jesus. Yeah.
Wow. And then that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And then you had the second part of the vision where you saw people yelling and screaming at Jesus as if they were being defeated.
Yeah, so this here, this is me now. Let's pause, and this is me. I take this to be as in like maybe the vials, when Jesus is coming back and dealing with all the peoples in the vials. He's coming back with his wrath upon them, and he's ending their plans. And these people are screaming. So I'm going to go back to the account now. So this is not me now. This is the account. So these people, I did not hear anything audible. I just saw their mouths open wide. They were yelling at Jesus. They were mad at Jesus.
It's almost like they were denying God.
Or they would, I guess it was just like Jesus is winning, and they don't like it. So that's what that was, yeah.
Wow. And then part 3, you saw the face of the Lord, smaller in your view, but with a lot of detail.
Yeah, so he started out smaller, and then I got really close to his face, and I saw just hyper detail. Everything.
Like parts of his face at a time, or his entire
pores,
face?
It was like just below his eyes down to his chin. I was focused mainly on his mustache and his beard. I saw his nose. You could see the pores in his face. You could see every hair on his face. It was that perfect. And so I had been praying to see him, and this was the first time that I had seen him like that. So I've seen him many times, but this was the one and only time I have seen him with detail like this. And I was focused on his mustache and his beard, and at times it was dark, but other times it was like it was white or like glowing. And so basically he has a dark beard, but it can glow and radiate just like the previous account where his whole head can just glow and be white. So he has this way of emitting light through him. Wow. So
how did that feel?
It had my complete attention.
Yeah.
You just want to watch, and you keep watching. You don't want it to stop. You want it. You wish that you could just stay there.
And you knew it was him. And you said, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then part 4. Another image of Jesus appeared with a large cross behind his right shoulder. And this was a larger image.
Yeah, he was just praying to the Father, and that his will would be done, and just giving us an example of how he treats the Father and how he looks at the Father, and that he prays to the Father.
Wow. Okay. Next one. April 16th, 2022. Here you had a couple dreams. So the first dream, you saw many shields that needed to be placed on the wall. And that's when you knew that they represented the two-path prophecy and the prophets and revelators.
Yeah.
What were you doing? Or tell us more about those shields. How many shields were there about? How far away were they? What did they stand for? Did you know anything about what they stood for? And then basically there was a date that appeared, September 30th, in the middle of all of this.
Yeah. And so these came up, and I first saw me hanging a shield on the wall. It's not like you just find yourself in a dream like a normal dream. This is like a switch, a light switch that comes on in your normal self, and you're aware. You could open your eyes and walk away if you wanted to, but who would in their right mind want to do that when God is showing you something? So you are awake. It just wakes you up. You just keep your eyes closed because that's how you're seeing it. But I'm seeing me hanging this shield on the wall. It's like 18 inches wide by maybe 26 inches tall, something like that. Big enough to go in front of your body.
So then how many of those shields were you putting on the wall? And was there like a specific order that they were in?
So I'd hang the first one, and then the second one I would place, and it was 1 inch lower. Now, I don't know why that was, but for some reason it's like a hierarchy, or a first one's first. There's some kind of order to it, to some level, but not maybe much of a level because it's just 1 inch. I don't want to say much more about that, but that's just what I saw. I hang the next one at 1 inch. I hang the next one, and by the time I've hanged like 4, this is just representations of in the dream. Like when I'm doing that, I'm like, it said September 30th. So then, and I'd know September 30th, right? And it would like pop in here visually, and then I would rearrange them in a totally different order, say diagonally versus horizontally. And then September 30th pops up again in a different place. And then I would do it in a different way, like vertically. And then September 30th pops up in another place. I could not shake September 30th. No matter what I did, I could not get rid of September 30th.
Now, September 30th, was that something that you saw or something that you thought of in your head when you were doing?
I visually saw it and knew it at the same time.
Got it.
And I could not. So basically, I needed to collect these shields. And when I was done collecting them, it had something to do with September 30th. So before I get too much further into this one, because there's more that I need to share with this one, but at the time, leading in probably the week or so, week and a half at the most, maybe leading up to this dream, I had felt led to just start gathering people who have said things of these code words that have been revealed. So, over 70 code words have been revealed, and it's a parabolic understanding. They say something like wheat. So then it's talking about a harvest, right? Well, wheat really that's just the mysterious side of the saying, but it's parabolic. It's a parable. So there's another thing that it means that's clearer. And the clearer understanding has been given that it means the work of God. Fruit is the same way, corn is the same way, corn, fruit, wheat, these all mean the work of God. Okay, so there's 70 code words that have this secondary clear meaning. And then all of those things tell this one message, and that's to unify and sanctification. But so I had wanted to find who has said what about these code words. And now in my mind, I'm thinking maybe 5 people. Because I had only known of Malachi, and maybe I knew of David at the time.
So you started looking for prophets.
So anybody who had said the code words. So then I'm starting to search for these code words to see where it's crawling out to. And I had started to accumulate many people now, like 25 people or something, like quite a bit. And then I have this dream. And so what I had known after that dream is that these people that are giving this message were the shields. So I had to finish collecting the people, the shields. And I had finished them all. You and I had worked on it after about the halfway point. We had found all these people that were saying the code words,
How many people was that?
Within like days of September 30th. Within like a day and a half of September 30th. So I'm just, are there any more? Nope. September 30th is done. We never have found any since then anymore. So we had scoured the entire 66 books of the Bible because I had started saying, well, what is Esther for? What is Ruth for? What's the Songs of Solomon for? Like, we didn't have any references to those, but then you'd see in this search now that it validated all 66 books of the canon, that they are there for a purpose, that these people are uncoding word. They're dropping the mysterious code word in their book. Wow. So they all are tied to this. And yes, how many? 42 groups of named people. So, well, I have to correct. There's 41 groups of named people. There were other groups that contributed that were not named. And so the people that are named tallied 41 people. So then in Revelation 10, John is prophesying of another prophet to come in the future that's within the realm of the end times. And it describes that he's given a little book by a trumpet angel, and this little book is going to have to be prophesied again. The gospel is going to be given again, but the clear version of it. So in Ephesians, Paul is saying that this is mysterious. He says that himself. He says, this is mysterious, but I'm going to write all that I know, but it's just a few things, but it's like everything that was given. And he proceeds to write this mysterious presentation of it, and that was our Bible study. But to have it prophesied again is the clear version of the gospel. So anyway, this person is coming at the end times, for the end times. And so this person is named in this book. It's myself, all glory to God. But there is a 42nd person embedded. So all the people prior in history, like in Hebrews and so forth, that did not come forth as with their names, that ship has sailed, unless there's some revelation from God that describes who they were. But they've had their opportunity, and now they've passed on. So there's one more opportunity to hit number 42, and that's with this book here. So, but the shields, those are tied to all of those prophesied understandings that were given. So the shields are the prophets. And then what are shields? It's like the shield of faith. And so like in Ephesians 6, you get the whole armor of God when you have done all. And so what is doing all? That's the 7 categories of eternal salvation that we outline. So those who have done some get some protection. But so the angels and the prophets are effectively helping us to be protected with these shields. And so what the prophets are saying is to armor us. It is to protect us. If we do what the prophets are telling us to do, then the angels will plug in and give us the shields. So it's huge to understand what's happening with angels, the spirit realm, with God's word,
it's
with
like they're preparing us
why
to be
prophets
ready.
Are prophesying. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's to prepare us.
Wow. So then you had a second dream that same morning, and that had 3 parts to it. The first part, you saw a large bomb pointing to your left, and then the second part, it's as if you were outside at ground level. You basically saw a close view of the land and sky, with some bright flashing lights from bombs blasting nearby.
Yeah.
And then part 3, you saw George Washington's face looking west to your left.
Yeah. The bombs were like a bullet shaped, and it was black. And
was it more like a missile?
No. Guy Wallach was led to draw a missile, but the point of the missile is this bullet shape. And so it looks just like Russia's Satan II missile. The tip of it is a bullet shape that's painted black. Now, this is me. I'm not saying that it's going to be his nuclear Satan II missile. But after that, I had seen that nuclear missiles have a tip that on, and I don't know the terminology for it, but the pointy part of it is usually painted like a different color, but it's a different compartment. And I've come to learn that that's the compartment that holds like nuclear stuff. So like the warhead part of it. And so this missile was held horizontally, pointing, from the east to the west, and then a second image that held there for quite a while, so I'd really recognize it and intake it, but then it was kind of going down at like, say, a 45-degree angle. So a missile is going to be shot towards the west, and it's a big missile. And so then on the next part, the big flashes of light, I saw the landscape as if I'm like standing on the grass or on the ground, and then it just lit up, like the bomb hit in front of me, and then it just was an intense flash of light that just whited out my complete view, and that was it.
And then you saw George Washington's face looking west.
Yeah, and so
and he looked a little different than the times before. It's almost like his appearance was worsening, I quote, and his head was tilting downward.
Yes. So it was Washington, and he's now looking the other way. He's not looking to the east now. He's facing the other way, and he's bending over like, he's dying. And as he's bending over slowly, then his face starts changing to like 4 other people that I didn't recognize. But it's the same body starting to bend down that's affected by this bomb or this war. So it's something that we have to watch for. So now, as I'm watching these headlines at work, I keep seeing these nuclear hypersonic missiles that go up into the stratosphere, and they come down at 7,000 miles an hour, and they just hit with such a force that these are the most impactful weapons that we have. They can even detonate above the ground as EMP blasts and so forth. And now we see people trying to build hypersonic missiles. The United States is in an arms race for that. And Iran has that capability now. Russia already has it. So this is now what we see. It was just a few months back that the United States shot off a hypersonic missile off the coast of California.
What are hypersonic missiles? Do they get here in 15 minutes time or something like that?
So if Russia were to hit the button, it would hit here in 21 minutes. So we have a deterrent that's takes 18 minutes to intercept it. So that means it's within 3 minutes of striking down. That means it's already on the descension from the stratosphere, or wherever it comes from in outer space. It goes way up into outer space.
Over our ground, pretty much. So
yeah, and it goes way up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, then you'd have the fallout, or essentially, an EMP explosion above us. I've seen the bullet. It's big. It's coming to the west, and there's going to be a massive, bright blast seen at ground level. So we need to watch for that.
Well, I think we should wrap up this podcast here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks like we're about 52 or so minutes in, so this is a good place to end this one, but stay tuned for the next one, and maybe we'll finish chapter 12 then. These are the accounts that you guys want to hear, because some of the stuff has come true. You can prove it out in your own news searches, and some stuff is yet to happen and that you need to watch for. And you can watch with us. So as some of these things start to happen, then you can give glory to God and know that what I'm telling you is true. It's truly from God. And this is really for you to get right on your walk with Him. So Amen. All of these things are to point you on your walk to Him, so that you're ready. So with that said, we'll catch you on the next one.
God bless.